All right, we're going to get started in 1 minute. Okay, folks. Welcome to the trade room, 10-minute trade, the U.S. retail news. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director for 10-minute trades. Please remember that all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes, and it is possible to lose money trading futures. Okay, let's talk about retail this week. Now, I do want to give everybody a heads up. Good morning, Ed. This is not a family money trade. This is a trade that honestly, we're looking for a good setup. We think we might have one. There's still some work to be done, but this is not a family money trade. So that means I may trade it and test it live, but it's not recommended for members to trade this live yet. It's had possible working results with our new setup, and our new setup is a trap trade. But it's always a little bit worrisome if the news is incredible. And I really don't know. The news has been very, I think, unexpected, some of it this week, where I would have expected fantastically good news. We haven't always gotten fantastically good news. So, right, Chantal, yeah, that's why I knew we were talking about different things, because NQ was not an issue. It's okay. So what I'm saying is the news that we've been expecting has not always been what I've been expecting. Now, we don't trade that way. In other words, I don't trade on guessing what I expect the news to be. We have a setup that is based on how the report has been moving the previous months. That's how we find our setups, not by guessing what we think the news will be. I like to guess what the news will be just for fun in the room, but it's not something that we take seriously. But I've been a little bit surprised that the news, it just hasn't been what I would expect. I would expect today that retail sales would be very good. So let's see what it is. That's what I think, that retail sales are very good. Lots of things are open, more and more opening up. For us, there's a lot of positive news about what's going on health-wise. So that's why I think possibly the news could be good, retail news. The question is, when did all that positive stuff start? Did it start early in the month, early enough so that the news will be good? That's what you never know. And that's why you don't guess, because usually you're making a guess based on conditions that are very, very recent. You're not thinking a month ago. You're thinking, well, what happened yesterday and the day before? It's human nature. So anyway, we're looking at a trap trade. Let's look at the test we did last month of the trap trade. And I've had 3 different setups in 3 months, but I do believe that we have a setup that makes sense, and it's the way that I'm going to trade it today. I'm using, last month we used tiers. They're called tiers, but they're orders. Okay, we put orders above and below the price. They're brackets, but they just have a different name with the trap trade. It's a separate strategy. So last month I used 11 and 22. I'm going to use 12 and 22 today, because that's what my notes say is the best. The The entry time is 8:30. Okay. Now there's a little bit of confusion possibly, and there's another reason why I don't really want people trading this yet until we have our what do you call it? Until we have our trap trade webinar. People don't know the trap trade well enough yet. There's an entry time and there's an order prep. So the order prep, what that means is our orders show up on the chart X amount of seconds before the entry time. That's because in the old days, you used to do a lot of adjusting to your entries on the trap trade, but the markets are faster now, more volatile. So we're shrinking the prep time and not doing very much adjusting. 12 and 22 are my brackets or my orders or my tiers, we call them. Our entry time is always the time of the trade, 8:30 today for retail. So, and my stop was 15, one position on each. So let's see what would have happened last month. With brackets of, last month it was 11 and 22. And then watch what happens. Our order prep time was 10 seconds. So the orders are going to go on the chart 10 seconds before the news actually comes out. That's 20 seconds. So see, I had a 10-second prep. So our orders, I mean, the funny thing is you can really consider that the activation time, because that really is the activation time. We got filled last month. The news was very, very good. There was a tremendous amount of news also. You had Philly Fed, which was late, New York Empire State, which I think was early, if I remember, if you look at what happened, and retail sales were great. They were great. And the jobless numbers were great also. This was on a Thursday the last time. And you had what would have been a perfect trap trade. The idea of the trap trade is that you want your orders above the price are sells. In other words, if the price goes up, you're going to sell. If the price goes down, you're going to buy. And you're looking for a change in direction. Why do you choose a trap trade? Because a certain report has a tendency to bounce up and down, to reverse. So the idea is to try and catch that reversal. US retail has not been tradable as a breakout for a very long time. It hasn't been working. It's been a very long time. So we decided to go with a different setup. And see, this is the previous DMM. When you go back October, November, December. Now you had February and March. February worked as a breakout, but then in March, we started looking at traps. So really the breakout was 1 out of 5. Okay, in recent history. And that's why we're not recommending breakouts on retail. Okay, we're just not recommending breakouts on retail right now. They may work, okay, but for the past year or even longer, it's been very, very inconsistent. If you look at the trap in March, I used smaller sized tiers or brackets and did not get filled. Okay. I mean larger. I used larger sized. I used 17 and 24 instead of 12 and 22, and I didn't get filled. Okay, it did not get filled. The news came out. It's the top clock that we're looking at, this one. That's the real one. This is the video. My orders are going to show up 10 seconds before the news. Let's see, I thought maybe I did it faster. No, you know what? Hang on, I'm late. I'm late. My apologies. Here we go. 8:29. Okay, my orders were set for 15 seconds. My prep. There wasn't really anything to move. In other words, if your stop was one tick, or you could theoretically put your stop. I mean, I like the stop placement here. It's above the high of the day. I wouldn't change it. But if it was one tick below the high of the day, I might move it up. That's what we mean by making adjustments. You might do something logical like that. Okay, it might increase the risk. But so you could see there was not a very good move, and it didn't fill me because my orders were too far away. All right. I don't think that's going to happen today. My concern today is that we get a burst in one direction and it just stops us out. That's my worry. Remember, it's not a family money trade. This is a high risk setup right now, or moderate risk setup that it's still testing. Okay. There are a couple of things that I slightly differ on than the setup that I have to discuss. My preparation time is more like 45 than 40. I don't want to sit with my orders on the chart when it's this volatile. In fact, my prep time would be 8:29:50. I don't want to get filled early and gold's moving. It's moving. It probably won't fill me early because my order's going to be a bracket of 12 and a bracket of 22. So it probably won't fill early. Okay. So my setup. So let me explain how I'm going to set this up so we don't have to rush. Let me record. Now we're going to have a trap trade webinar because I'm pretty certain that in my email, there's the new versions of the trap trade sitting there. So we're going to have a trap trade webinar very, very shortly, a couple of days. Now gold is doing what it loves to do. It's testing the high. Okay. Well before the trade. We're 20 minutes, almost 17 minutes before the news. So it's pretty normal for gold to test the high. I want to make sure that I'm hearing financial juice. I'm not hearing them right now. So the way that you use the daily report to set up a trap trade, and there's just one minor difference that I'm going to make. So you choose the trap trade software now. Ignore the top part, contraction. That's going to be gone in the new version. We never used it. And you start at trading. Bracket center, the default is price at the time. Position size 1, that means 1 contract. Wait for spike. Our old version of the trap trade did not have a stop for a few seconds. In the old days, we didn't automatically put a stop on for a few seconds until the move was made. Now we have an emergency stop, and then it changes to what it's supposed to be. I didn't see that email, Mark, about the about financial juice yet. Usually when there's a trade room this early, I don't do my emails till after the first trade room. Position size is going to go to 1. I'm just trading 1 contract in each bracket. We have 2 brackets. Average price bars is a default number that stays to 10. Average price on stop changes to last fill price. We don't use averages. And then our stop loss is 15. And in my mind was 17 today, and I'm using 17. 15 is okay. Tier 1 is 12, okay? That's my notes. That's the recommended number. I go by my notes, and my tier 2 is 22. The thing you're concerned with is if it's 24, in other words, tiers can have a range. I want to, and I have to discuss it with my boss. My boss invented the trap trade. I didn't. So sometimes he doesn't like when I make changes to it, especially if I haven't really discussed it heavily with him. And I realize I made trap changes to the trap trade without talking a lot about it. So I'll discuss it with him. Order prep for me is 10 seconds on this trade, because that's the way I've been doing it, 10 to 15. I think it's volatile this morning. I'd rather not have my orders on super early because I don't want to be involved in a move before the report comes out, okay? I don't want to be involved in a move before the report comes out. I think everybody understands that. So my setup is 1 contract, 1 contract at 12 ticks above the price and below, above and below, 22 ticks above and below. Entry time is 8:30, and my prep is 10 seconds. That's when my orders are going to show up. That's really our activation time. So in theory, our activation time is 8:29:50. 40 for me with this volatility is a little bit early. A little bit early. Mark, I'm going to have to, I'm not sure what you're referring to, so I'll talk to you in the next trade room about it. So one more time, I priced at the time, 1 position, stop loss. The rule is called the last fill price. I've got a 12 tick bracket, a 22 tick bracket. Orders are going to show up 10 seconds early. My entry time is 8:30. And it would be nice if I enabled, if I put the strategy on. I never put it on, so I have to do it again. So my last fill price, my stop is 17. My tiers are 12 and 22. The trade time is 8:30. That's when the report comes out. 8:30. My prep is just 10 seconds. And I want to label it GC Retail. And the reason nothing ever happened is I never applied the trade. We can save a retail trap with today's date as a template. Entry time 8:30, 10 seconds of prep. Apply it, okay it. Now my trade shows up. So if we get a burst, I'll get stopped out. Okay, I will click enable. Thanks, Ed. If we get a burst and it just keeps going, then I will get stopped. But if it reverses, like we're hoping, then, or expecting, it's not hope, we're expecting, because that's the way it's been trading. I'm also watching the ES on the right to see what kind of movement it gives us. Let's check our time sync. But again, this is not a family money trade. Okay, this is more, we're working on making sure our setup is solid. Good, TJ. Good, TJ. I talked to Chantal yesterday, so I think that's important and will help you definitely get good fills. That's critical. Absolutely critical. You know, I'll tell you the funny thing about retail sales, TJ, but I shouldn't tell you until after the trade. The trap trade is a low slippage setup. So in theory, you'd probably get better fills on a trap trade than you would on a breakout trade, even with IB. But I'd rather you do it in sim until you get your broker set up. But for everybody that's in the trade room, and I'm certainly, TJ knows I'm not picking on him, but TJ's been in the room for quite a while, and he waited quite a while before he spoke up and told us that his fills weren't very good, or that he wasn't doing as well as we were. And so we had to try and figure out why, and it turned out that there were some issues with his broker. But the point is, if you're in the trade room, don't be shy about speaking up, even your first day, if you have a question, because that's what we use our trade room for. We want you to ask questions. We don't want you to sit back and be totally silent and worried that you're going to get picked on. You're never going to get picked on or yelled at in the trade room. The only time I can't answer questions is right at the moment of trades, you know, when it gets very close to trade time. But generally, we don't want you to sit in the room for weeks and weeks and not say anything, especially if there is an issue. Now, fortunately, TJ still did okay, but we didn't know that there were some from fills. His fills weren't as good as ours were. So sometimes there's solutions. So if you're having problems or you're not sure why something's doing something, don't be embarrassed about asking. That's the key. That's the key. So I'm going to check my time once more. And I just want to tell everybody on YouTube, there's a lot of folks watching on YouTube. If you would, you know, give our stream a like. We're trading live today. We're testing today, really. It's not what we call family money trade. Family money trades are trades that we recommend as if we were trading our own family's money. It's a new thing that we're kind of trying to be really clear about what trades we would take live. So like our stream, sign up for our channel and hit the notification bell, and you'll know the next time we are going to stream. We stream at least 4 times a week. At least 4 times a week. I'm just checking my time once more. So 10 seconds before the retail news comes out, what's going to happen is my orders are going to show up on the chart. I don't think they'll get filled because they would have to move 12 ticks in 10 seconds before the news. It probably won't do that. It could burst 50 ticks, though, and stop me out for a quick $340 loss. That is possible. That's the risk I'm taking today. But the breakout has not been working on retail. We don't know if it's going to work. It hasn't been working in a very long time. So they're only expecting a 1% increase but look what the increase was last month. It was 9.7. It was 9.7. So there's certainly a possibility that the numbers won't be as big as they were last month. That's so the important numbers are the core retail sales monthly and the retail sales monthly. Those are the main retail numbers. The big number is the 1% on the month over month. But what is interesting is last month was very big. It was very big. And gold's got a pretty big trend also to the upside today. So there's a lot of risk. There's a lot of risk in this trade today. There's a lot of risk in the trade. And when you think about it, all the trades, anytime you trade, you have risk. That's the game. That's the game. You got to decide how much risk am I willing to take versus, the reward. It's not easy. Definitely not easy. I mean, we've had a really good week. And you hate to give money back to the market. It's hard to take money out of the market. If it was easy, everybody would do this and everyone would be a millionaire. It really requires study and work. I am trading in the main account, David, because my test account doesn't have enough margin. But this is not a family money trade. So it will not be calculated in our, explanation of the family money trades. Okay. You know that we're 100% transparent about everything we do. I never hide anything. But our smaller account doesn't have enough margin because when you trade the trap trade, you're putting 2 orders above the price, 2 orders below the price. And even though those orders aren't filled, they're considering the margins to be 4 orders. So if the margins are $2,000 on gold, that means you have to have at least $8,000 in your account, and you really need more. So if someone what happened to me in a trade recently is I actually didn't have enough margin in my smaller account and tried to do a trap trade, and it just turns off the trade. It won't let you trade. All right, so what we're looking for is price to go up and down or down and up. That would be the best thing that could happen. If it's dead and there's no fill, like in about 30, 45 seconds, maybe as much as a minute, then, you might cancel the trade because retail usually gives you a pop of some sort. If you don't get a fill in a reasonably quick period of time, you might not want to have a real trade, a live trade. So there's my tiers, okay? There's my orders above, below. The news is coming out now. It looks like it's going to fill me. The news is a little mixed. Now, honestly, folks, it looks like our orders just might not be big and might not be small enough, right? We're not getting, ooh, I don't like that. Okay, so I closed out with an $80 profit, little bit quick. I really did it a little too quick, folks. I saw a profit. Actually, if I would have been more patient, I could have grabbed about $160 profit. I definitely could have grabbed a bigger profit. It moved very quick. I got a quick 80, but I was a little bit impatient, And now look, see, we were filled short. It could have been a $500 trade. Whoa. It could have been a $500 trade, but you can't play should have been, would have been, could have been. I did what I did. I made 8 ticks, and I'd still rather make 8 ticks than, not make money at all. So, but I just got out too fast. I get out too fast. What happened? Let's look at the video. I got very uncomfortable because of the power of that move down. I thought it was going to stop me out. So when I saw a profit, I took it. I saw a profit and I took it. And I got a little bit lucky also, because it was really, and you know what, Mark? I should have been more patient. Let's talk about why I should have been more patient. Because the trend on gold was up, okay? The trend on gold was up. The retail news was bad. That pushes gold up. So overall, I just wasn't properly patient because it would have been a way bigger profit. It could have been a way bigger profit. But what's great is I do think that we have the right setup for retail. I think we have the right setup. Let's look at the video. I'm never going to cry with an $80 profit. It's not as much as we could have had. We could have had way more. Because look, we were filled at 35. It's a $400 trade easily. So by being impatient, I would have hit my targets. It would have been like a very huge trade. But very honestly, folks, I've got to get used to trading the trap trade again as much as everybody else has to learn how to do it. Now, the ES, let's look at the video on the ES. The ES looks like it had a possible workable move as a breakout, okay? And for the first time in quite a while, very, very choppy action though, which is good for a trap trade, perfect for a trap trade. Let's look at the video. You'll see the mistake. See what I did wrong. The best way to learn is from what you do wrong. Let me just save the video. All right, so here's the video. Let's watch the setup. It was a perfect setup. Let me take a little picture because it's still a winning trade. Not a family money trade, but I think next month we've had quite a few winning traps in a row that have looked good. I don't know if I should call it a family money trade yet. That's asking a little bit, maybe a little bit too much. How many months in a row do you need for something to be a family money trade? It's a tough decision. So now gold's moving back the other way, but we would have hit our targets. That's a little bit frustrating. Here's the trade. I definitely overreacted to the downward move, which I thought was going to stop me out. And I was not patient. So my orders came on 10 seconds before the news came out. Okay, there's my orders. There's my orders. The news comes out now at 8:30. It's a second late, 2 seconds late. And gold moves slowly. In other words, I was actually thinking, wow, there's not even a move. I was thinking of canceling the trade. So there was the fill, and the fill was pretty explosive. Then I saw a good sized profit and grabbed it, and then it kept moving in our direction, though. That's the frustration. Look how it kept moving in my direction. Look at where our orders were, 38.70, 39.70. It never gets any, boom. It goes through our orders and fills them both. That's a $400 trade, easily, okay? So not being patient cost me. Not being patient cost me. I let my worry, right? I let my worry forced me to take a quicker profit than I should have. But regardless, folks, we had quite a great trading week this week. We made $1,100 Wednesday. We made $700 yesterday. Every single family money trade we took this week worked, I believe, every single one. Watch for a video tomorrow. We had a great week. We had a really good week. We do have one more trade room for University of Michigan, which I am not trading live, but it is our last trade room for the week. So my goof was I got out too soon. Okay. Put that in the whatchamacallit, the annals of the greatest hits trades. Getting out too soon is my disease that I'm always struggling with. All right, retail, but I'll still now look at gold heading down the ES. I think the markets want to go up today, regardless of the news. It looks like the ES is still up, but it had a pretty big drop on retail news. Let's look at the ES. The ES had a good breakout, it looked like. Let's see if it did. So watch the right chart at 8:30. I would have put the order on. Was it tradable? Looking at the ES, I think the ES was tradable to the downside. It chopped quite a bit also. Not easy, depending on what your stop would have been, right? But I think it would have worked. I think ultimately it had a good move to the downside. I would not use a small stop on retail sales. I would not use a small stop. So I'll have to test ES to see how it really would have been. It looks like possibly, depending on stop size. Okay, so folks, our next trade room will be here at 9:30. 9:30. I want to thank everybody on YouTube for watching us. So we'll be here at 9:30. All right. Yeah, the price rejected. Actually, it made a new high, Mark. It made a new high, 39, 11 ticks. 11 ticks. Because the Globex high before the trade was 39. Now, actually, it was 38.30. 38.30. But it failed. It definitely failed. There's no question it failed. All right. Folks, I'll see everybody at 9:30. Let me verify that that's the right time. That will be here at 9:30. Yeah, I'll see everybody at 9:30 for the last trade room of the week. University of Michigan. All right. So I'll see everybody in about not even an hour. Okay. See y'all in a little bit.